Hey, get your hands out of your pocket. Get your hands out of your pocket. Get your hands. Get back. Get back.
It's hard when you find out all your troubles are real. I couldn't even play guitar for nearly a year after that. And I don't play like I used to. For 2 or 3 weeks, I couldn't even go in the music room. His drum set was all set up just like he had just been playing on it, you know. When he was in band and he was in percussion, I mean, it was tap, 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 all day long, all night long.
He was there until he was completely non-responsive. He was gone. Graham was really out of his head. And they said, well, he's assaulted an officer and he resisted arrest. Well, he did bite an officer.
When you try to get information from the police, what happened?
They clamped down.
What a shock. I thought a parent would have a right to records to see what the truth was. It's all captured on video. To say that you don't have a right to that is just crazy.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go.
Law enforcement agencies could withhold information that they know would be damaging to the law enforcement agency or to a particular officer. Police agencies have the discretion to release information concerning closed cases. If the public can't see for themselves, the trust that the public has in law enforcement is diminished. It makes it more difficult for law enforcement to do their job.
Breaking news tonight out of downtown Austin, where police say a man who was arrested for shoplifting pulled out a gun in the back of a patrol car in a busy part of downtown.
escorting our prisoner to the jail.
As we were driving down there, I began to talk to him. I noticed that he was real fidgety in the back seat.
Well, anyway, you just told me he was suicidal.
I'll let the staff at the jail know so that they can treat you properly there. And he said something about, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the jail.
Removed a pistol, it appears, from the back of his waistband, placed it towards his head while still handcuffed, was able to pull his hands around to the side.
I hear the racking of the slide on a semi-automatic pistol. And I stopped the vehicle, exited the vehicle, let people know what was going on.
One old lady's got a gun in his, he's in the back seat. He's got it to his head.
A few minutes later, I heard him pull the trigger.
Shots fired inside the car. Inside the car.
10-4, shots fired inside the vehicle.
CPR in progress.
Start EMS.
Yeah, start EMS. I can see in the reflection we've got blood.
The big question that we all have is, how did that suspect get a gun into the back of the patrol car?
Chief Manley says the entire ordeal was captured on video.
Precisely because someone died in custody, we would want to see what happened in that case. What are they hiding? This makes me wonder why I should trust what's going on when I can't look.
A young shoplifting suspect.
He was handcuffed
In the back of a patrol car with a gun.
19-year-old Zachary Anam shot himself in the head.
What you can see on video, he is able to pull his arms around the right side of his body to place his head in front of the muzzle of that weapon.
How did this all happen?
I'm very devastated. It's my only son who's gone. Literally struggling. What can we do with our life?
My reason is very simple. It's just that I don't want a family to have to potentially see that. And how does that play against the needs of the community to get that specific piece of information?
If a person dies in police custody, they're never going to go through that court process.
In the majority of those cases, we're going to release the information. It will be decided on a case-by-case basis.
Can you step out for me real quick? I'm gonna f***ing shoot you!
And 9 for failure to appear. Money for our fresh.
In the parking garage right here.
I can assure you no one feels worse about what happened in the back of my patrol car than I did. It was my fault. I didn't do the search that I should have done. I can only imagine how the family must feel, and I'm sorry for that.
Chief Manley says that this was all captured on video.
Our philosophy is that we should put out all of the information that we can with a few caveats. And so if the legislature changes the law, and it sounds like we would be in a position where we would have to release them, and we're going to comply with the law.
My name is Kathy Dyer. I represent myself. I represent my deceased son, Graham Dyer.
All right, the chair lays out House Bill 3234 and recognizes Chairman Moody to explain his bill.
In other words, a case can be closed, but unless it was closed with a conviction and the information related to it never becomes public. That exception was created to protect innocent people from having their names dragged through the mud. For example, when false allegations are made and a decision is made not to prosecute, the accused may prefer to have as little information released about the investigation as possible. Unfortunately, that well-meaning law has led to some unintended consequences. The most obvious of those comes in situations where the person being investigated has died.
What we want is to be able to hold law enforcement accountable, let the public see what went on. The person is dead. They're not going on to trial. They're not going to end up in a conviction. This bill would close that loophole.
Stop or I will shoot you.
You are pathetic.
Stop.
You're pathetic.
Stop.
You're gonna shoot me if I don't stop.
Yes.
Is that what cops do?
Stop.
We're mostly just angry and want answers.
Think of the shocking murder of 5 Dallas police officers last year. The shooter was killed before he could be brought to justice, meaning the records related to what happened that night are now permanently exempt from disclosure. The public has a right to know what its government is up to, and sometimes that impacts people in a very personal way, as you're about to hear from some of these witnesses.
All right, the chair calls Kathy Dyer.
My husband and I traveled here today. We don't know a whole lot about House bills or the Texas law. They were investigating, but they did not come across anything to indicate that any officers had any wrongdoing in my son's death. We were told we couldn't bring any kind of civil action because we didn't have sufficient evidence.
I'm speechless. Your story is very sad to hear. I know it took a lot of effort for you and your family to come here today.
The bill got out of its committee that did not get up for a vote in the full House.
Behave your f***ing ass and don't behave. I swear it's not out!
It don't matter, just grab.
Been to Beaver's Bend?
Jump towards the water.
We'd go up there and go swimming and jumping off the cliffs.
Just take off running.
Went from the greatest moment to be a parent, the highest mountaintop experience.
Go for it.
Plunged into this.
Cheekies.
Hey, get your hands out of your pocket. Get your hands out of your pocket. Get your hands. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back.
The first officer tased him, and he went to the ground.
What's your name, brother? Ram Jire. Ram Edward Jire. What do you think, brother?
What you on, man?
He was obviously in a delusional, drug-induced state when they rolled up.
No, not that. Look at his eyes, man. His freaking eyes are just freaking dilated like crazy.
Not in his right mind, for sure.
In there.
I swear to God, I did this. I'm gonna pay your ass if you don't behave. I swear to God. Put your face down now.
They shoved him into the car, didn't restrain him. He was thrashing around in the back of the car.
He bite you? Yeah, he did. He bit you? Yeah, that's why I punched him.
And they said, well, he's assaulted an
ran
officer
at him,
and he resisted arrest. Well, none of that would have happened if they had just backed off and let him get medical treatment. The driver says, quit banging your head. Quit banging your head.
Quit banging your head.
Well, he didn't, and so the driver pulls over. They tased him over and over and over again.
I've got a seat.
Calm down.
Motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you. Oh, shit. You better chill out, you hear me?
They got back in the cars and drove back onto the station.
Let's go.
There was no reason for him to die. What happened to serve and protect? What happened to, we're here to help this young man that's in distress? To wonder where he would be at this point, you know, would he have gotten through his college, or would he be married with kids, or, you know, who knows what? You know, all that's lost. No family should have to go through the suffering of not knowing the details of how their child has passed.
Like we almost got a new mission in life to prevent something like this from happening again. He doesn't have a voice anymore. And we do. But now when I'm lonesome, well, I like to pretend that I'm getting a feel.
Hickory Ring.
I just gave another round of epi.
Okay. Still got nothing?
He's on a cold surface. He's starting to get rigid.
Okay, y'all. We're good. Thank you.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
I just want to know what really killed him, because it's kind of hard to accept that my son just died from natural causes. He's 21. He had his whole life ahead of him.
Austin 911, do you need police, fire, or EMS?
Before you get to the light on 51st and 183, a car had went off the road down into the pavement, down into the creek.
All right, stay on the line for me. I got help on the way, okay?
We got three occupants. They're being treated right now. They're working on getting them out of the creek.
The driver, he's standing in the creek bed, up to his waist for no discernible reason, just talking to himself and gesticulating with his arms.
He's transporting the driver to the New Dill Hospital. I'm going to follow.
I gotta seatbelt you up, but I'm still gonna try to leave it loose on you so you don't have to touch it, alright?
You're actually being charged with intox assault.
Intox assault?
Yeah.
What is that?
When a DWI results in an injury to another person, like a serious bodily injury, it gets enhanced to what's called an intoxication assault.
I'm not coming home. Ain't gonna be no coming home for that.
He called me from jail to let me know that he was arrested.
What'd you think when you first saw him?
From what I seen, he had a busted eye vessel, his back and his shoulder and his legs was hurting from the impact. I told him he needed to go to medical and make sure that that wasn't something real severe. The only information that they had is that he went into a seizure inside his cell. I mean, my son doesn't have a history of seizures. He's played sports since he was 11 years old. I've kept him in football and basketball and track. We have to go through full physicals, so he's never had any type of heart condition.
When your lawyer tried to get information in the case, what happened?
They just kept giving him the runarounds. That's when he called me back and told me he couldn't take the case. If you're not wrong and you did everything by the book, then you have nothing to worry about. So why withhold the information?
Appreciate you hearing House Bill 3234. This is about closing a loophole and opening up some crucial information to public scrutiny. The intent of the bill isn't to cause any issues in an active case. What we're dealing with here are closed cases that fall into an exception that they shouldn't have.
House Bill 3234 will be left pending at this time.
We have to be better. We have to demand more of ourselves and our systems.
How will this information help you in the upcoming legislative session?
This data and information is something that members of the legislature didn't have going to last session. It's invaluable for someone like me. Presenting a bill now for the second time with evidence, it is one of our priority bills for the session.
I'm conducting an investigation into the questionable death of a Mr. Herman Titus. In doing so, I'm going to be interviewing everybody that had any kind of contact with him. Did he talk to you any, or talk to you about?
A little bit. I mean, basically all he talked about was his mom and his sisters. He's 21 years old. He's talking about getting out and straightening his life up. I mean, seemed like a good kid.
I know that he was in pain because he went and laid down and had himself covered up, and he was moaning and groaning and asking for ibuprofen.
He was up and down all night. He was on the floor. He was sitting with his head down on the table.
He goes, "My fingertips are numb and I feel like I'm gonna faint." That's what his words.
He was like breathing heavy. He went to medical the next morning.
His building called and said he was he had a medical emergency.
He was brought over to the clinic where I was working.
He was waiting to see a doctor.
He wanted to be seen immediately. I tried to calm him by talking to him. He said he was in a car accident.
Said he felt sore, said his back and his neck hurt.
Then he asked if he was going to be charged by medical, and they told him yes.
They said he signed a refusal form and didn't want to pay for the emergency visit. I took him back to Building 12.
It's just hard to Monday morning quarterback the actions of folks without knowing, the critical nature of what you're facing at the time. So it's easy to look at the event and say, I wish we'd have done this differently, because obviously you have somebody who has passed in our care and custody, and that's a big deal to us.
Do you believe, or do you know if any of the guards took their time or neglected him?
I don't know. Apparently, due to what happened, he probably shouldn't have came back for medical. As far as I'm concerned, they didn't do their job.
And why would you say that?
He came back from medical, it wasn't a half hour later, and he was dead.
I thought that staff responded appropriately.
Nothing should have been done differently, in your opinion?
I didn't see anything to do differently, no.
There was a medical emergency called in Building 12. The inmate was having a seizure. Your CPR was in progress.
I just thought, you shouldn't even get this man to the hospital. Why isn't he going to the hospital?
Do you want me to do the next one, Tracy? I'm okay, yeah. Okay. Hold on a minute. We have a pulse.
Whoa! Oh crap, sure do. Alright, CPR, get on the chest, Let's start over.
Was anyone disciplined from the jail staff in this incident?
Discipline for?
Anything?
No, there was no discipline.
Like I gotta go the rest of my life not knowing what really happened to my kid. And I'm supposed to get over it. I'm supposed to move on. He's not here. He can't enjoy this life with me. And I don't think it's right. Why does he get to enjoy the good life with me?
Any information Demisha Burns received came too late for her to file a personal injury lawsuit against Travis County. But with what evidence we obtained, she's exploring other legal options. It includes records of Titus being detained for being combative, restrained to a chair with no food, fluids, or medication, and then taken out of general population here in Building 12 and possibly put into lockdown for 15 days. His mother said he told her by phone he complained about his pain and got upset with guards, so they put him in lockdown. He filled out a form right here saying staff took his pain medication while on lockdown. The sheriff's office says even in lockdown, inmates get medical care, but in an interview, a nurse told investigators he had not been treated since the day after he got to jail. Finally out of lockdown, we know Titus played basketball. You see here on this surveillance video, it is hard to make out, but staff interviews say the very next day, the day he died, Titus went to medical and said he was sore after this game. His autopsy report even mentions him possibly being hit in the face or the head by another inmate in this rec yard, after which he complained of arm and back pain and numbness in his hands. But investigators say he had no bruises or signs of physical harm. Still, with such pain the day he died, why would he refuse medical treatment? Officers said he was impatient and didn't want to pay the fee for the visit, a fee we learned would have been just $10. The sheriff's office tells us inmates are never denied access to medical care if they can't pay, and if it's an emergency, they go to the hospital. Titus did sign this refusal form, but the reason he lists is too faded to make out on the copy we were provided. Also, the section the medical provider is supposed to sign after informing Titus of the risks of refusing treatment, well, it's blank. And then there is this video. The sheriff's office issued a corrective recommendation for jail staff to actually call 911 when it's requested. We showed this video to Austin Travis County EMS and the Austin Fire Department, whose crews you see here. They wrote, "It illustrates the professional men and women of those agencies working very hard to resuscitate Mr. Titus on one of the most physically and emotionally challenging call types we respond to on a daily basis." Because of our report, though, they've launched a clinical investigation with the Office of the Medical Director to look more closely at that response. This case is among the research we shared with Representative Joe Moody, who just last week filed his bill to eliminate the loophole in the upcoming legislative session in January. We'll keep you updated. Online now, Denied Evidence, the next chapter in our investigation into police transparency in Texas. We break down the numbers to show you the scope of this statewide problem, plus an interactive map of the law enforcement agencies taking advantage of this loophole when suspects die in custody. Click the agency to be taken to case file pages on each of those deaths. Also, explore the evidence that surfaced after we started investigating the Herman Titus case, and an interactive timeline of his stay in jail, including extended audio clips from interviews with inmates and officers. And if you missed the original investigation, we'll show you where to find it. It's all in this story in the investigative section of KXAN.com.